Can't believe this story has resurfaced. What is going on?
Well, he testified before Congress in 2008. He was charged 2 years later with lying to Congress when he denied using performance-enhancing drugs. He went on trial last year, and it blew up almost immediately in a mistrial because prosecutors introduced stuff they weren't supposed to introduce. And so now it's round two. They're going at it again.
Right, and this is what court, what jurisdiction is this being held in?
This is federal court in Washington because the charge is that he lied to Congress. So any sort of federal perjury charge has to go through that courthouse, essentially.
Right. Now, let me ask a question, which is how, I don't know how to put this in the right way, how easy or difficult is it to get away with perjury? And is perjury different when it's done before Congress as opposed to a regular way court?
I actually think this is a really interesting wrinkle in Clemens' situation in particular because the charge is lying to Congress. And when I spoke to some of the jurors from the last trial, what they said is, and they only heard the opening arguments really, they didn't really get to the meat and potatoes of the evidence. But what they started with, it seemed very clear that the jurors started with an incredible distrust of the notion that lying to Congress was some great sin because, frankly, their opinion of Congress is so low that they sort of felt like the prosecutors had to show them, why does it even matter if you lie to Congress? So I think that's going to be a hurdle for the prosecution.
Which is that's a fascinating angle, given that, as we know, earlier today, I think we had the former GSA official taking the fifth, or he was going to take it the fifth today. There's still, there's a lot of lawyers out there giving advice to their clients, which is don't appear before Congress because they're going to get you hauled up for perjury. Goes to show you here, it might not matter.
Right, and part of the difficulty, I think, in the Clemens case for the prosecutors is, they don't want to have a trial where they have to try and rehabilitate the reputation of Congress. That's a horrible argument to try and get into. But I think that what they need to try and do is show that Clemens lied by bringing in other witnesses, but also that at the end of the day, even if you don't respect Congress, you have to respect what Congress tries to do on any given day. And that's sort of a delicate balance to strike because, again, the thing that really stood out to me about talking to the jurors from the last one is they really wanted someone to say to them, it matters because of this. And you can't just say it matters because it's Congress, because to a lot of average people, that just doesn't cut it.
Right. Now, I don't really remember all the circumstances around the Barry Bonds case, which was somewhat similar in certain respects. I don't know, was Barry Bonds actually charged with perjury as well?
His was an issue of supposedly lying to a grand jury, a criminal grand jury in San Francisco. And in that sense, Bonds' case is a much more cut and dry type of perjury, obstruction of justice case because, it's more normal in the normal course of business, of prosecutors' business, it's more normal to charge someone with lying to a grand jury. When you see perjury charges, that's usually where you see it. Part of what's so weird about Clemens' situation is that he did it on camera, in this big nationally televised hearing that everyone got very excited about. And then the FBI then went from there and spent years putting together a case to say, okay, we believe he lied, this is why, and he should be charged for it.
And what I remember, what made the Clemens thing so strange was, again, these were people who were leveling the accusations against him, who were very, very close to him. I think Andy Pettit,
right.
And who Clemens said he had, quote unquote, Andy had misremembered things,
right.
It was, the whole thing was really kind of sort of, but these were people who were extremely close to Clemens who were leveling the charges, which is one reason why I think, on the face of it, the feds wanted to go after him on the perjury charges.
Right, and I think another piece of this, because the Fed spent a long time looking at his close circle, and frankly looking at some of the outer circles as well in the broader world of baseball. And I think part of what you'll probably see in this trial, assuming it doesn't end in a mistrial like the last one, but assuming this trial goes to completion, I think one of the things you have to look for is how bad does this make baseball in general look as a result of this, because there's supposed to be a lot of baseball witnesses in this trial, and it'll be very interesting to see how much the defense tries to muddy those witnesses up, or the prosecution, because in theory it's in everyone's interest maybe to make some of these witnesses look bad.